Hello, everybody, and welcome to Common Sense Views. My great honor to welcome you back. Finally, the nomination of Trump have started their grilling by the Senate. You would have expected that it would be highly spectacular as it was during the confirmation of Kavanaugh, and exactly that is what we are getting. And this is just the beginning. They are just sharpening their tools. Pete Hegseth sat there with a lot of salacious questioning, which was not geared towards ability and functionality, but towards his personal life, as if he was being confirmed to be the Pope. There are many culprits in that. Of course, we know that that is what the Democrats usually do: destroy your character and not your functionality and not your professionality, but your character as an individual. In that way, people are no more looking about your words, they are talking about your personal life. Unfortunately, this time around, one of them, Tim Kaine, was confronted. Those who put themselves in a higher pedestal and think that others below them are but instrument to be made caricature of. If you see the glee, the smirk in his face, you know that this is just like a joke for him. They don't even care. They don't care. You came with your family. No place is out of reach. Some are asking questions about a statement he made that women should not be in combat role in the army. And it's as simple as that. Women can serve in the army in whatever capacity. But there are some places that are specifically by merit. If it is doing 100 push-up, any person that reaches the 100 push-up is qualified. There should not be any reason to reduce the standard to be 50 for a certain group of people or 30 for another group of people. But 50 is 50 for men, women, and whoever wants to be in the military. And they know that that was the point he was making. But somebody like Senator Gillibrand, which we'll be going into later on, made it look like he was disparaging women, which is completely out of the context. Senator Herrera, the most salacious human being I have ever seen serving in a public office. The thing is that there's no single feeling in her face. No single feeling. For me, I don't know whether to call this evil. I cannot judge somebody as evil or not evil when you don't see any kind of emotion. It's just like a piece of paper receiving a pen on it. Just read. And that's it. It doesn't mean anything to them. Once they go to the next person and get whatever research, like opposition research, their numerous workers are making for them, and they're just reading. It's not what the purpose is supposed to be. Advice and consent. Advice and consent, that's it. Not asking you whether you cheated on your wife. If it's a rape and it's confirmed, then it shouldn't be. Because then the life of people around you will be put in danger. Your private life is your private life. If your professional life has not been anything appalling, I don't know what it has to do with. There's some people who say that what you do in your bedroom is not any person's problem. I'm talking about what you do with your wife. But that is about me. If you have destroyed, if you are the best surgeon in this life, and you cheated on your wife, I wouldn't say because you cheated on your wife, I don't want you to operate on, do a heart surgery on me. No. Please save my life. But then if you are going around molesting people, then I say, no, let me die because I can't take it. There are more question of morality. But being a strong fighting force, killing the enemy that's in front of you and destroying the opposition in front of you, it's as it is. It's just as it is. It doesn't have any special morality around it, but being lethal. And that is what Pete Hegseth was trying to communicate in the hearing. So, I just want you to listen to Tim Kaine and judge by yourself. Are they really humans? This man came there with his wife and some of his kids. Now, I know that they are doing their national duty, but is that really their national duty? Gleefully asking him, he cheated on your wife, and this happened, and you drank some beer, you were carried home. The same people who believe in redemption. Just watch it and let me know what you think yourself on the comment side. down below. Let me know what you think. If this is actually the purpose of advice and consent. Tim Kaine, I gave him to you. Then I show you a Republican senator who gave it back to him in his own coin. Watch.
Thank you, Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Hegseth. I'm looking forward to this opportunity to talk. I want to return to the incident that you referenced a minute ago that occurred in Monterey, California in October 2017. At that time, you were still married to your second wife, correct?
I believe so.
And you had just fathered a child by a woman who would later become your third wife, correct?
I was falsely charged, fully investigated, and completely cleared.
So you think you were completely cleared because you committed no crime. That's your definition of cleared? You had just fathered a child 2 months before by a woman that was not your wife. I am shocked that you would stand here and say you're completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared? How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
it was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I am so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct?
Anything?
You've admitted that it was consensual, and you're still married, and you just had a child by another woman.
Again,
how do you explain your judgment?
Completely false charges against me.
You
fully investigated, and I was completely cleared.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now, if it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
It was a false claim then and a false claim now.
If it had been a sexual assault, that would be disqualifying to be Secretary of Defense, wouldn't it?
Now, just to the point. You see, this is not meant to reach to any reasonable conclusion. It's not meant to reach to any valuable input to the advice and consent. Gleefully asking, you have sex then, and what does it have to do with you want to recruit people who will be able to fight for your country? If he has sex, is it consensual or not? If it is consensual, it is not your problem. It's about his morality, what he do with his wife, and why would the wife forgive him? It's none of your problem. If he raped the woman, that means no consent, then it's an issue. What adults do, you are not there to pontificate as, he's not even going to be put as a judge or what. You people were there. Bill Clinton was doing it in the Oval Office. And I know you people fought against removing him. Anthony Weiner, Hillary Clinton, most of you, Kamala Harris, a lot of you have been accused. Legitimately or illegitimately, that is not the point. And he continued to say it has been investigated and he was cleared. You were not satisfied. Probably that 7-year-old kid was there, listening to this nonsense by a so-called senator. If this was done by a Republican to a Democrat, they would say, hey, he's poking into his private life. What adults do? But look at what they are doing. It doesn't make any sense. There's no other question he asked. You can just continue, just watch it out. He never asked any other question that is relevant to the point. Just the same point, he had sex and by the 2 months mother of your baby. How is it your problem? Is it the advice and consent? If it's not qualified, you say your reason. If it is legitimate, good. If he that he has sex with another woman before 2 months before he had a baby to the third wife, make it obvious he married third wife. Is it not what you people approve? Marry as much as you want, as far as you're not living with one. And in that approval, you never said do not have sex. It's morality, right? But that's his morality. It's not morality of the Secretary of Defense. If I'm wrong, please put me to the point. I'm not saying you should cheat on your wife because that is completely not it. You shouldn't do that. You all loyalty to each other. But it's not on my hand to correct you if you do, as long as you're not going around raping women. So let's continue. Let's watch him just go on with his salacious questioning and smirk, as if that was what he was there to show.
That was a false claim. So you talking about a hypothetical.
So you can't tell me whether someone who has committed a sexual assault is disqualified from being Secretary of Defense?
Senator, I know in my instance, and I'm talking about my instance only, it was a false claim.
But you acknowledge that you cheated on your wife and that you cheated on the woman by whom you had just fathered a child. You have admitted that.
I will allow your words to speak for themselves.
You're not retracting that today. That's good. I assume that in each of your weddings, you've pledged to be faithful to your wife. You've taken an oath to do that, haven't you?
Senator, as I've acknowledged to everyone in this committee, not a perfect person, not claiming to be.
But no, I just asked a simple question. You've taken an oath like you would take an oath to be Secretary of Defense in all of your weddings to be faithful to your wife. Is that correct?
I have failed in things in my life, and thankfully I'm redeemed by my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
In finalizing divorces from your first and second wives, were there non-disclosure agreements in connection with those divorces?
Senator, not that I'm aware of.
If there were, would you agree to release those first and second wives from confidentiality agreement?
Senator, it's not something I'm aware of.
But if there were, you would agree to release them from a confidentiality agreement?
Senator, that's not my responsibility.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives?
Senator, absolutely not.
But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as
Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
You would agree that that would be a disqualifying offense, would you not?
Senator, you're talking about a hypothetical.
I don't think it's a hypothetical. Violence against spouses occurs every day. And if you as a leader are not capable of saying that physical violence against a spouse should be a disqualifying fact for being Secretary of demonstrating an astonishing lack of judgment. The incident in Monterey led to a criminal charge, a criminal investigation, a private settlement, and a cash payment to the woman who filed the complaint. And there was also a non-disclosure agreement, correct?
It was a confidential settlement agreement off of a nuisance lawsuit.
Right. During an interview, you claimed that you settled the matter because you were, if it became public, it might hurt your career. Do you maintain that you were blackmailed?
Senator, I maintain that false claims were made against me. And ultimately,
your attorney
those
used
false
the
claims,
frame.
I have the opportunity to attest my innocence in those false claims.
But you didn't reveal any of this to President Trump or the transition team as they were considering you to be nominated for Secretary of Defense. You didn't reveal the action. You didn't reveal the criminal complaint.
Yeah, notice how salacious this was. If he said, I didn't reveal this to Trump, it means that he's hiding something from this to be commander-in-chief. If he said he revealed it to Trump, it means that he reveals his discussion with Trump to a third person. He can't hold a secret. So these people are not stupid. But unfortunately for them, Pete Hegseth is not stupid either. So in order not to keep on with that back and forth, non-reasonable state accusations, and I use accusation because till now, the woman, even at this point, has a reason to come out and say he's lying, but she had not done it. Even at the point, she was told if she goes on with the salacious accusation, she will be charged for defamation. And since then, nobody has heard about her because she knows what defamation that she might even pay more. But so look at the rebuttal Tim Kaine got for all these salacious.
Your time, and do not wish to ask questions. I was misinformed. Senator Mullen,
okay.
It's right.
Caught me totally off guard there. I'd like to submit for the record signatures by 32 members of the House of Representatives who are veterans. The signatures call on the Senate to honor the constitutional duty of advise and consent by conducting a fair, thorough confirmation process that evaluates his nomination solely on the substance and merits. his distinguished military service, academic credentials, and a bold vision for revitalizing the national defense. I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record.
Without objection.
You know, there's a lot of talk going about talking about qualifications and then about us hiring him if we are the board, but there's a lot of senators here I wouldn't have on my board because there is no qualifications except your age, and you got to be living in the state and you're a citizen of the United States to be a senator. Other than the fact we got to convince a lot of people to vote for us. And then when we start talking about qualifications, for if you're qualified for it. Could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
for you to do that. Yeah.
Let me read it for you because I Googled
I was getting some advice from my second in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not going to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped up to Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up to vote night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher.
So, you see his line of argument. You do not cast the stone when you know that you live in a glass house. You remember in the Bible, I have to use this analogy. When they brought the woman that he was committing adultery, was caught in the act. And they said, according to our law, she was supposed to be stoned to death. And this gentleman called Jesus bent down, writing on the floor, thinking in his heart, what will I do with these people? And then he looked up and he said, if you have not committed any sin, throw the first stone. And he bent down. When he looked up, everyone had disappeared. Everyone had disappeared. And he said, has none of them condemned you? I said, sin no more. That is what he's saying. You were there when some people came drunk to vote. Did you point them out? You were there. Have you not seen some of them who have cheated on their wives here? Have you pointed them out? Just as I said, it's the same sentiment. It was just a show for them. And they don't even care that this man has his kids just right behind them. If not for the sake of the man who should stand in front of whatever he did, but what about the kid in question? But they don't care. It's just about show. Look at all of them, Hirono, Gillibrand. When they finished talking, it was as if they were not even in the room. But what he said after this particular statement will make you see who of these two parts have humanity in them. Who of these two parts have empathy. Your time, and do not wish to ask questions.
The hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. That he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. Mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison, why me too? We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving that mistake. The only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too. I have changed, but I'm not perfect. But I found somebody that thought I was perfect. And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why. But just like our Lord and Savior, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you. So before I go down this rabbit hole again, tell me something about your wife that you love.
She's the smartest, most capable, loving, humble, honest person I've ever met.
That's it. In a way, he declared his love, his affection, and affinity, and the reason why he loves him the way he loves him. And that's it. Whether they like this or not, the Republicans have the majority. And it's not just a slim majority. It's a huge majority. They have to lose 3 people. And these 3 people must be voting with the other side for them not to qualify. Because if they lose, and they still have a Vance to close it out. So what are they doing? Just ask relevant questions. What are you going to do? Because as a matter of fact, there's no person in charge between when Biden is leaving and when Trump is taking out of office. No person is in charge. And they know this. It's a vacuum that any person can do anything. It's a very serious national security vacuum. That is why the Secretary of Defense have to be ready before that time to checkmate any shenanigan, anything that is coming unprepared for. It's his duty to step in and stop it before it happens. So why are they doing this? If he is not somebody who has anything at all to offer, then you can say that. Lord Austin, of all the degrees, of all the pedigrees, all the standard he had, what did they do in Afghanistan? Their departure in Afghanistan put a rotten sand on the graves of the people who suffered blood and sand in that country, including the Afghans, not just Americans. The people who were killed there unwarrantedly. That's their land. Because you're pursuing one man, you invaded them. Okay. Now, all the thing you came into, okay, you killed the man, why not leave? You didn't. And then you left the way you left. And put the entire people, the women especially, to years behind where you met them. And that is what Pete is said to go and correct. If there is any reason why you must go to war, you go and execute it and leave. You're not supposed to change people to make people be like you, to make people think like you. You are not the police of the world. And remove wokeism from the military. So those 2 exchanges, one canceled the other. But then, they're not done. Until at this point in the hearing, I never had any person that asked any legitimate, what I can consider legitimate question. No. This one will come and accuse, oh, you talked about women in compound rule. And so what? Why are there no women in the SEAL, like the Navy SEAL? Yeah, there are women assigned to the SEAL, usually medical and other staffing stuff. They're still military, but they're not the SEAL. The exercise they go through is not human. You need to be a superhuman to be there, and superhuman literally, not figuratively. Every year, Pete swim with these guys in 100 meters in the ice cold water. ice cold winter water. Yeah, women can do that too. But if they do it and they qualify, then they can be in the combat role, which is the point he's making. It has to be on merit, equality, not equity. On merit, not on quota. So that the purpose is not lost. Letter readiness, that's all he's saying. So having come this far, if you like what you're hearing, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also leave your comment down below. So now we go to Senator Gillibrand and few others who were putting their own voice. You tell me what you think about their position. Is this the Senate's role of advice and consent, or is there something else going on? Is this Kavanaugh effect going on? Because that is all they have. And remember, the people who are clamoring about what he said about women are the same people who do not know the definition of a woman. See the irony? Just watch.
And I want to thank you for your willingness to serve in this capacity.
Thank you, Senator.
I have many concerns about your record, and particularly your public statements, because they are so hurtful to the men and women who are.
Just mark that departure. Mark that departure. I have many concerns about your record. Perfect. Then, especially many of your statements. You see that it's not about the records. They don't care about the records. It's about utterances, which is what the left is all about. Words and not action. They call themselves progressive, but it's supposed to be by action. But everything they center on is words on how to control what is said and how it is said. Not just what is said, but how it is said. Should it be said at all? Look at what it is, and also listen at what other point did she mention his so-called records, rather than what he said in the guise of what do you call it again? Anyway, and please, I want to put this forward. What happened to Gillibrand? She used to be so cute. What happened to her? And I'm asking a legitimate question. What really happened during the Kavanaugh and in 2019 when she was out for the presidency? She really looks awesome. What happened? She grew so old, so fast. It just within an interval of 4 years, and she transformed from such a Gillibrand queen to, is it anger or what? If she's sick, then I'm so sorry to ask in this way, but I still ask because I want to know legitimately. No jokes. So just back to how Gillibrand vibrating all she has to say about what Pete Hegseth said and not his actions.
Are currently serving in the U.S. military, harmful to morale, harmful to good order and discipline. If you are saying that women shouldn't be serving in the military, and I'm going to read you your quotes because the quotes themselves are terrible. You will have to change how you see women to do this job well, and I don't know if you are capable of that. So I want to press on these issues that my colleague Jean Shaheen brought up because she said it so well. So first of all, you answered your questionnaire. Do you believe that any American who wants to serve in their country in the military and can meet objective standards set by the military should be allowed to serve without limitation? Then in all of these other circumstances, you've denigrated active duty service members. We have hundreds of women who are currently in the infantry, lethal members of our military serving in the infantry, but you degrade them. You say, we need moms, but not in the military, especially in combat units. So specific to Senator Cotton's question, because Senator Cotton was giving you layups to differentiate between different types of combat. And specifically, would you take any action to reinstitute the combat arms exclusion of service members, knowing full well you have hundreds of women doing that job right now? And the standards, your 2-mile run, Tom, is about the Army Combat Fitness Test. It is not the requirements to have an MOS 11 Bravo, which is the infantry. These are the requirements today for people serving in the industry, men and women. They are gender neutral, and they are very difficult to meet. They have not been reduced in any way, and our combat units, our infantry is lethal. So please explain specifically, because you will be in charge of 3 million personnel. It is a big job. And when you make these public statements, and I get you were not Secretary of Defense then, I get you were on TV, I get you were helping veterans, I get it was a different job. But most recently you said 24, knowing full well you might have been named as Secretary of Defense. So please explain these types of statements, because they're brutal and they're mean and they disrespect men and women who are willing to.
Well, Senator, I appreciate your comments, and I would point out I have never discouraged women serving in the military. I respect every single female service member that has put on the uniform, past and present. My critiques, Senator, recently and in the past, and from personal experience, have been instances where I've seen standards lowered, and you mentioned 11 Alpha, 11 Bravo, MOS, places in units, and the book that has been referenced multiple times here, The War on Warriors. I spent months talking to active duty service members, men and women, low ranks, high ranks, combat arms and not combat arms. And what each and every one of them told me, and which personal instances have shown me, is that in ways direct, indirect, overt, and subtle, standards have been changed inside infantry training units, ranger school, infantry battalions, to ensure that
give
commanders
me one example. Please give me an example. I get you're making these generalized
meet
statements.
Quotas to have a certain number of infantry officers or infantry enlisted, and that disparages those women
Commanders
who are
do not have to
capable
meet
of meeting
quotas
that
for the
standard.
infantry. Commanders do not have to have a quota for women in the infantry. That does not exist. It does not exist.
Do you see the arrogance? This is somebody sitting in an air-conditioned room telling the person in combat, who was also asking people in combat, and the answer they gave him, the person who sits in an air-conditioned room is telling him it doesn't exist. I don't know, the smugness and this, I know too much, I know better than you, I too know. It doesn't make any sense. So that is Gillibrand, and the rambling continues ad nauseum. And in order not to make this particular recording so long, I think I have to call it a day here. I will take subsequent recordings of their talk as we progress. And before I close up on this, I want to use this opportunity to express my deep felt empathy to the people who lost their families' belongings, practically everything they worked their entire life for, on the fire. The incompetency that led to it should not be forgotten, just as their sufferings now and in future should not be forgotten. You may have the money to rebuild. Your insurance may put you in a hotel waiting for the time to rebuild. But it takes time to get your home back.